Hello again, everyone, and welcome to a very special bonus episode of the Addictions Podcast. We are releasing 2 episodes today. The first is a typical style episode. We're going to be talking about nicotine. But this episode here, I have a very special guest in studio with me. He's a good friend of mine. His name is Rocky Piercy. He's actually been on the show before, and he's very big into meditation and mindfulness and how through using those as tools we can do anything from fight our own depression and anxiety to even tackle problems like personal addictions and things like this. And to be honest with you, I'm a firm believer in it. Meditation is not as difficult as a lot of people make it out to be. Number one, you don't have to spend 2 or 3 hours a day doing it, as little as 5 minutes a day. And the more you practice, the better you get. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. A lot of people practice meditation without even realizing that they're practicing meditation. It's an interesting subject, and I feel like our listeners could benefit from hearing a little bit of what Rocky has to say. Rocky and I are actually going to be putting on a series of seminars and talks with people about meditation. And here soon, actually, March 31st of this year, we're going to be doing a show at a local record venue, a record store, basically, that's in my hometown of Greenville, Michigan. So for a lot of you international and out of state listeners, we will be sure to stream that over Facebook Live, so that nobody will miss it. So stay tuned for that, but without any further ado, let's get to my conversation with Rocky and hear what he has to say. Before we get to that conversation, I do want to remind everyone listening that the views and opinions expressed by Rocky Piercy are not necessarily the views and opinions reflected by the Addictions Podcast. But without further ado, let's get to that conversation. Today on the show, we have a very, very special guest, a good friend of mine, Mr. Rocky Piercy. He is known as a spiritual advisor. That's the words that I would best use to describe what Rocky does. Now, Rocky, you want to fill us in a little bit on the type of thing that you're into as far as the meditation and mindfulness and just self-awareness?
Yes, I do, David. And David, before we get started here, as normal as usual, I definitely want to thank you. I'm very honored to be here with you and honored to be back on your show and very honored to be working with you on these projects we've been putting together. They've been very successful and we've got a lot more in store, so I wanted to touch that. And about being basically a spiritual advisor, I think that is kind of a good way to explain me. I'm basically in between everything in a belief system, constantly open. My basis is basically for 10 years I've studied energy and frequency because I thought everything was energy and frequency, so there had to have been a combination here, and that's where this meditation thing is really taken on a direction of its own, and it's actually getting out there, and it's like a movement, David.
Yeah, we did a kind of like a seminar on meditation and mindfulness back in what was it? January
13th.
13th. Yeah, January 13th in Greenville, Michigan, which is my home state. Now, for listeners that are not able to come to our seminars and stuff here in Michigan, we do put out a lot of videos of the seminars that we do, and we've got an upcoming event. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that event, Rocky?
I would love to do that, David. And before I do, I want to touch a little bit about the first event me and you did.
Of course.
That was the Rocket Man and Wagner production. It was completely awesome. What was amazing about that show, David, when we did that show, and I said it was me and you and then those helpers that helped us, but it was so amazing about that show, David. You had them in their seats for 4 hours. We never took a break. One of the guest speakers had spoke up and said, well, a bathroom break. And I looked at her and says, ma'am, I'm looking around and we've been at this over 2.5 hours. I says, nobody wants to stop. They seem to want to move forward. Go ahead and go to the bathroom. But for 4 hours in that community center, that is really something. And they weren't leaving their seats because those guest speakers, and I want to thank them, and we truly do, both of us do, for them coming there and speaking. And it was truly enlightening, entertaining, a lot of information, and it came from many different directions because we've had 5 guest speakers, and they did very well, David.
About the guest speakers, we had speakers from basically kind of all different walks of philosophy and life, everything from the more Christian type of viewpoint to the more esoteric kind of new age spiritualism, which I thought it was great because we had both extremes. It wasn't like we were trying to say that, oh, this is only going to work if you're religious in this way. The way I see it, that just serves to hinder you or slow you down, or and I'm not really big on grouping people into groups. We're all human. That's the group that we're in.
Very well put, David. Very well put. And how you explained that, and that's what we did. We took it from all sides, so we didn't exclude anyone. We invited a lot more guest speakers. Many of them weren't able to make it. But that's part of the universe. See, those that were there at that show were meant to be there at that show. Those that did not come, well, they weren't ready, or they had other things in their universe that they had to attend to. And now the next show we are actually doing is going to be Everything Falls Apart Records. Trevor, in Greenville. I'll let you tell a little bit more about that show, but I'll touch this part of the show. It's going to be truly amazing, that show will be. And that will be on March 31st at 6 p.m. And we are going to do this one slightly different than we did the last one. The community center was so wild with that lady at the end when I got on the stage, and I was the last one on the stage, and I was honored to be there with all that spoke before me. And that lady that volunteered to come on that stage, I didn't know who she was, and she come up on there, and she 30 seconds in, 2 minutes into the whole thing, 30 seconds back out. Dave, what did you see?
It was amazing. She went into just like total relaxation within 30 seconds of you guys doing your thing, and that blew me away. I mean,
that was much more than the audience could comprehend.
Exactly.
Because this is freedom. This is something that I've worked hard on, and it come from Nikolai Tesla. And sure, Nikolai Tesla, towards the end of his career, he spent it on a park bench. But there's a reason and rhyme for a lot of things that happen on this earth. And I think if he would have been successful, we'd have done the same thing we've already done as a human nature, and we'd have destroyed it. And that doesn't mean we're all negative, but we are doing a lot of rough things on this planet. And I love what we're doing here, David. I love you being aboard, is because we're going after a lot of things. This is not just about meditation. This is about opioid addictions. Before we touch that for a moment, let's just talk about the next show on 31st. 6 p.m. We're going to run this show from 6 p.m. on until daylight, if that's what it takes, because me and you had decided if we're going to do another one, and for the response that we got, everyone that wants to experience this, even talk privately with us, however, and even any questions you'd like to answer. And these questions, I'm saying, if you'd like to ask, can be from anything. It doesn't have to be meditation. It could be your we channel. It could be your relationship. It could be your life. It could be your children. It could be what's going on with everything, or your deepest thoughts. The questions will be in you, especially, David, with your background and this opioid addiction, of your own experience.
Exactly. And the only dumb question is the one that you don't ask. That's a universal truth, But it's gonna be great. And as far as that next upcoming show in Greenville, I realize that a lot of our listeners are spread out over the entire globe. So you're probably not gonna be able to make it. But for those of you who can make it, that's gonna be awesome. But for those of you who can't because of geographical location, we will be live streaming the entire show, or at least the majority of it, on Facebook. So you can tune in and be able to watch the show and kind of follow along.
Yes, David, and as when we mentioned here, and there was a lot of things that went on in this last show, and I travel around the United States in these last months, and it's been exciting for me because I actually was building my craft. And my hometown is Greenville as well, David, and we have a lot of passion for this community. So let's just touch opioid addiction for the moment. But there is hundreds of addictions.
Yes, sir.
It's not just that. There's alcohol, and these are addictions, and these are illnesses. And it really touches my heart, is because I look at this, I watch the papers. I've seen on the front page of these papers in the last few months of so much of this about this opioid addiction and the courts and that, and they are swamped. They've got their hearts in it to deal with this problem. And I know there's others that are dealing with it before it goes into the system, but that's exactly what this needs to be dealt with. because it doesn't need to be a taxpayer's burden. It's already a man-made disease. Man must take responsibility, and the taxpayers are picking up the bill. We must deal with this before it gets into the court systems. And what I say is, I'm not going to be trying to split hairs here, but we have the U.S. government. Our government has been using psychics for many, many years, and they're still using them today, David.
Yes.
So why aren't we in the court systems and the rest of us start thinking thinking outside the box here, and bring that aboard?
I agree 100%, and that kind of baffles my mind. The court systems and the government in general, they kind of treat not only opioid addiction but basically all addictions as a criminal issue, when really it's a healthcare issue.
Yes.
You know? It's a disease. It's a disorder, and it claims the lives of, I believe on average, we're losing 115 people to drug overdose in this country every day.
We just had here, didn't we just not have 3 here just recently, in right here close to home?
Yeah, very, very recently.
And
yeah.
this addiction, as well as other addictions, this addiction will not be resolved by the U.S. government. This addiction will not be resolved by our state. This addiction will not be resolved by your town, and it will not be resolved by the council. How you resolve this is the way of thinking. And this is something that I've actually put together, and I've even put a thing together for the courts. I'm challenging the courts. If they'd love to sit and talk, I would love to sit down and tell them the ideas that I have and possibly some answers here. Not all the answers. But this goes back to the same thing. How this actually works, we got to learn to sacrifice. This is our problem. It is the community's problem, and it is the community that will help retain and fix the problem. Maybe not resolve it, but there are so many out there right now that would love the help, that don't have insurance, doesn't have all this, and they don't expect the taxpayers to pick up the burden, that we could start utilizing thinking outside of the box. And here we are, David.
Exactly. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. With meditation, that is truly possible. You cannot expect results overnight, but it's something you've got to put a little bit of work into, but it's not as difficult as a lot of people make it seem. I've learned that by speaking with you, Rocky. What you've told me has made me realize that there's a lot of people that are engaging in this type of meditation stuff without even realizing it. And if they actually knew what they were doing or had a little bit of guidance, they could move mountains.
Poetry in motion right there, what you just said. I even had a hard time responding to you. That was poetry. And that's what this is all about for me and you. And that's why I love you being aboard and your experience in this. And it's saddening what you've gone through, but look what you're giving back. And how many lives? How many lives do you realize you even touched just by being there? That's what this show is about. I'm offering a challenge out there right now. If you can't make it to that show, but March 31st, come on in there 6 p.m. We're going to run all night long until daylight. Come in here and speak with me. Put me right in the corner and say, Rocky, you've said all these things. I'm not going to hand you a pill. I'm not going to talk to you and say, well, get back to me in a week or two and tell me how things are going. You will have immediate results standing right there. It is time for us to start thinking outside of the box. Just because we do not believe, we do a lot of things we don't believe, but we sure like the results, so don't we, David?
Yeah.
So
yes,
that's where this is all lining at in this. And now I've got to emotional part of this, and I'd like to take a couple of minutes here to myself, if that's okay, David.
Of course, by all means, Rocky.
And I'd like to tell you my motives and my means and why I do what I do and who I really am. And who this is going to fit with a lot. And there's a lot more people on this planet that have gone through not even half of what I think I've gone through. At 9 months old, I was in a hotel fire. At 9 months old. I was put into a hotel room, wrapped a blanket around me, and put a space heater next to me to keep me warm. Needless to say, I was burned at 90% of my body at that time at 9 months old. 60 to 65 was over 3rd degree. And I can about tell you everything that went on in the hospital after that. My mother said it was impossible for me to remember. And I remember laying in that bed, seeing the boils, peeling the skin off, patching me all over to keep me alive, had my right leg up in a harness, my right arm up in a harness, that which I found out recently, what's really going on with my posture, is that my right side didn't actually grow. So it's like I'm two separate people here now talking to you. I feel like a rubber man walking. I haven't seen a doctor in 45 years. I've been dealing with this on my own because I've been living this life so recklessly. I mean, drunk, I should either be a quadriplegic, prison, or dead. More than on my fingers, I should definitely be gone from this earth. Got hit by a 90-mile-an-hour car when I was laying in the back of a van, blowed out the back door. Just so many incidents. I don't want to go into that. But that kind of gives you my thing here. And I said one thing at 45. I am 58 years old. Lived with depression for 57 to 58 years of nothing but solid depression. Always a loner. Never trusted anything. Didn't have friends. Just was a troubled person. And at 45, I was literally dying. I was my family, everything around me, just literally dying. And I had money. I had some success. I knew how to use the system. So I made a decision and I started shifting, and I found out energy and frequency. Everything on this planet is energy and frequency, and it is magnetic. I wanted to know what was going on. When I was in school, and I know you've experienced this, David, why could somebody would walk in the classroom, never say a word, and that everybody magnet to them?
Yeah, yeah.
You see that today.
Yeah, you do.
I went after that, David. You can sense my passion right now. I wanted to know what's going on here, and I found out that piece of paper, wasn't it, David, the magnetic field. What it is a lot of kids, when they were growing up, they were a little more fortunate, had good thoughts with the parents, better nutrition, and some of them were light up. And that's just how this planet works. You learn to deal. You're playing cards here. You're playing chessboard. Whatever the game you're dealt with, that's what you deal with. But that was amazing thing to find out, and that's why I tapped into the magnetic field around the Earth, because that's what it's all about. Everything has a magnetic field around it. The chair you sat in, everything. What I had found out about that field, that there was a connection to everything here, and that has everything to do with this. And I wanted to know, why do certain people walk this planet and everything magnets to them without them saying a word? It's your magnetic field.
Exactly.
And as I said before, the Earth is a magnet. You are a magnet. If you're both magnet together, but if you can take that magnet and flip your magnet over, but keep the other magnet going, you're gliding across the Earth, and now you're free from it. Challenge me. You have a way to talk to me. We've talked about creating a meditated disc. Something had pulled us back, because after me and you did that show, David, the first one, we got pulled in two different directions.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was so beautiful, is because we didn't want to go in different directions, but look how stronger we are now.
Exactly.
And look at what we're about to create with these next shows.
Yeah, and with that next show, that's going to be on March 31st. It's going to start at 6 p.m. It's Everything Falls Apart Records, rock and roll boutique and record store. And that's actually on the corner of Grove and Lafayette Street. It's in the rear building. There is actually plenty of parking, so don't worry about that. It's going to be a blast, and I urge everyone that can make it to come out there and show up, because you're going to witness some things that could be very life-changing for you. What you were saying about kind of gliding across the Earth, Rocky, when you think about it, if you have two, let's like my hands, for example. I know you're listening on the podcast, so you can't see what I'm doing, but if you stick your hands together and try to push them, it's hard because of friction. There's friction there. But like, if you're able to, through meditation and being mindful and being aware, if you're able to kind of flip that around, like you said in the magnet analogy, it becomes effortless. Life becomes a breeze. Things are just so much easier.
Exactly what you just said, David, and that is the trick. Find out what it will take to flip your magnet. Challenge me. Confront me. Put me on the spot. Immediate results. I don't care who you are. If you come in there with the belief system, I'm full of crap and not believing, well, you've just done jammed it. Nothing's going to happen. Come to the shows. Be open-minded. Take a look. You be the judge. You decide. And you opened up a door right there, what you said. That's what I like about being on the show with you, David. I actually want to beg you sometimes. Let me on the show. And I know you're a busy guy.
Anytime, man. Really.
But I don't watch much TV and not much in the papers, but I've been really watching this addiction thing, and this is one of the things that touched my heart, and I know that I've gotten it from you, David, because every time I look in the eye, I could just sense the passion and the driven that you're driven. You're not going to do anything else. You're not gonna. This is your thing. And we talk a little bit more about this magnetic field and this battery, or this magnet you talk about, flipping yourself over so you can kind of just guide across, because a lot of meditations, and please, I'm not stomping on this, but a lot of meditations are taught, ground yourself to the earth. Wow.
Yeah.
You want to drag that big ball around now. That was a joke. That was a joke. Please don't write in and bounce me. I was just having a little humor because I am in that field right now, and I've watched so many. That lady that come up on that stage at the community
yeah.
center, no denying, was there, David?
No, I witnessed it myself, within within that 30 seconds
The
or so.
audience, there was really too much to absorb. I mean, she was free. And though when she left, that lady had left that night, she called me on the phone, and I never met her before. There was other ladies that spoke as well as she did. They were together for 3 days afterwards.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that just told you why for 4 hours they would sit in them seats and just they were entertained.
Yeah, they
Information.
all seemed totally absorbed into what we were talking about.
And back to that doorway that you just said, that I had last summer. I had Spawn on TV, and I was in the laundromat, and on TV there was a Doctor's Odd shows. And I'm throwing this challenge out to the producers, if you'd like to. In fact, I'll do you a demonstration, not a problem. We'll do it live, and I want to do it live. I want to do it live to someone I've never met. That the Dr. Oz show is they brought back electric shock. This was last summer.
Oh, man.
What did that do to the auditoriums and all these people abused? Well, they hooked this lady up with these things, and I know they meant well, but they did, and they zapped her, and then she come on there and told about the after effects, same as your medication on TV. Why do you think they put all that on the end of that prescription?
Yeah, side effects may include depression, insomnia, maybe even death.
And the last thing we forgot to include, you cannot sue us now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's called knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
There's no conspiracy here when you know the truth. There's no conspiracy with the government if you know what's going on. And if you're just condoning it and going along with it and turning your head, you can't call that a conspiracy.
No, you can't.
No. And then back to the Dr. Oz show. She's on there. She's talking about what the side effects that she received and that was it even worth it? And yet she's still trying to linger what really happened to her with this juice going, this direct current. Well, why don't we use an alternate current? Why aren't we using the current that Nikola Tesla exposed us to? That's what I'm offering here. On national TV, on that stage, 3 minutes, you will witness it, you will feel it, and you will actually want to be a part of it. There's your challenge. Prove me wrong. The worst you're going to do, embarrass myself and go away? Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
I agree. I definitely agree. And I have no doubt that you could do it, Rocky.
And back to Everything Falls Apart Records. Gentlemen, you can see I'm shook up now. Meeting this gentleman, there's a lot. We're all have hearts. This guy's got a heart.
Oh, yeah.
He's got huge things coming to this place. Greenville had opened up their arms to him, same as they opened up their arms to me about what I was doing with this meditation. They don't have to agree, but at least they didn't block the information.
Exactly.
And with Trevor, he's bringing in so much poetry reading, the music. He's going to be bringing in psychics. We're even going to do a session in there on young people for manifestation. What that means is these young people, they're coming onto this planet, and this is what the reality being laid upon them. They can break this reality by creating their own reality, and if they want to manifest something in their lives, we have the information for you to do that.
Exactly.
And isn't that what this is all about? And I'm making a challenge around the world. Cut the red tape. There are so many people just misplaced from their homelands that we don't even have an idea. Take this information I got, and I will get it there. I personally want to go there myself, and how many people will realize they're not enslaved, they're not without, because if I can sit in this chair right here and be the most happiest person on the world, which I am. You can hear my voice. I'm in love. I'm in heaven. I'm compassionate. I've forgiveness. I don't carry grudges. You want my stuff, take it. It's just as simple. Maybe that's why I don't have a lot of stuff. Nothing to take.
I would agree with you 100%, Rocky. And, it's definitely not limited to here in the United States. These types of problems exist worldwide. It can really kind of wear on you after a while if you kind of dwell on that, because we can't help everyone, but one thing that we can do is spread this message so that we can create a ripple effect, and thereby helping who knows how many people, and then the more people who in turn create a ripple effect in their area, the thing is going to spread like wildfire, in my opinion.
It already has, David, because the response you've been getting and I've been getting, and that's why we wound up spitting these passes, because it's just too much for one person to handle. The same as I put a lot of challenges out there. I do. When I tell people about moving stuff, No one challenges me. Wouldn't the first thing you say, oh, well, let's see it?
Yeah, prove me wrong. Prove it to me.
It's not a matter of proving me wrong. It's a matter of being open and being off our foundation, thinking outside the box. I've been so bored with my life. 57 years to 58 years. I'm now depression all the way through. I know exactly what that addiction's like. And that ain't a pretty one. And same as opioid addiction, smoking, drinking. The truth of the matter is most of the people that do this, they don't even really want to do this. There's a void. We all have these voids, and what we're doing is we're filling the void from the outside in. We're buying stuff, we're doing this, being with this person, have to have the TV on all night long, messing with the brain waves in our brain because of that. Yeah, all of it.
Everything.
It goes back to the same thing. I don't have all the answers. David does not have all the answers, but we do have some, and we have results. We're not here asking you to come and be a part of, come into the show and sit in the chair and say, wow, okay, well, I'll get back with you. We're talking immediately right there, miracles in that room. Yes, I did say miracles. We create our own miracles. That's why we're giving this gift.
Definitely. And, I think over the years that the word miracle has been kind of given a bad name, like it's some sort of magic, No, miracles happen every day. I mean, I consider a miracle that I didn't die in the car crash where I broke my femur, I saw my death coming. I was ready to accept it. And that is a insane feeling. It just blows me away.
David, that is so beautiful what you just said. And I know what the magnet is. I know your magnetic field. I sometimes want to be in that thing because I do. I love that. I love your discipline, just the way that you operate. Think about what David just said. Easy now. Don't call into the show or beat up David about what I'm going to say. And it's just my thoughts only. Jesus saw his own death. Jesus was very psychic. Jesus understood the energy on this earth and the heavens that it was actually transferred us from. We weren't ready for that. We had people on this planet. We're actually the fifth wave of humans on this planet. This planet has been disintegrated. I said disintegrated 4 times. Then water returns and it rejuvenates and cleanses everything. But before all of this happened, this is my true belief of the information I have received. I truly believe before of mankind there were gods on this earth and they were fallen angels that the heaven had finally kicked out. They wanted on this earth. They were actually physical, but they could do all those mental powers and all of these things with their minds and throwing balls of fires. And whether you believe it or not, I believe that was one of the swipings of this earth is because God had had enough.
Well, and you see that in multiple religions. Even in like the Hindu-based religions, there's the god Shiva, Shiva is the destroyer. But the reasoning behind being the destroyer is that, you destroy things in an effort to create new things. From destruction comes rebirth. It's kind of a somewhat esoteric philosophy, I guess, but it's something that I do kind of believe in because there has to be chaos to exist for calm to exist. There has to be good. There has to be evil. There's a balancing act, that's going on, and I really feel like especially here in the U.S., but probably worldwide, that we have fallen out of that balancing act to a very large degree.
Very good, David. Very good. You don't need my pat on you on the back, do I? That was excellent. And that to me, that is part of what me and David is bringing this, and I love this, is because that's going to be part of every month we're going to sit down. We're going to open up this forum for any questions. You email the show, and then David will. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. And if anyone who wants to get in touch with Rocky, you can email us at the show's address. It's theaddictionspodcast@gmail.com. Send us anything you want.
And it's not a matter of just getting a hold of me. It is me and David will be speaking. And what we are asking you to do is send in any question you want. I'm talking this question can be from anything, relationships, your children, life, what's going on in the world. What we do is we open up a channel. We give the information that we receive. You do not do anything with the information unless you take full responsibility of it. But what if it's a doorway? What if it helps? And that's what I mean by that. That gave you a taste of the show. And now, David, I guess where we're at is March 31st. The other seminar will be there, meditation mindset. Please come. We'll run till daylight, if that's what it takes. No worries, no one's going to be deprived or come in or just find out what it's about. Find out what it's about. And I believe we're already got the third show on its way. We may be looking at a date, April 31st. David has talked with me, and I've discussed this, and I know he's announced this. We're going to do a podcast once a month that we'll open up there. We'll ask you to email the questions, and we'll give you what comes channeling. And remember, it is not us. We learn to get out of the way, and whatever comes doesn't mean it's so, but it may be the information that you might be looking for. And David, I want to thank you very much for having me on the show. I appreciate
Of course, Rocky. Anytime. And one more time, I want to let you guys know that for our local listeners, that show is going to be March 31st at 6 p.m. at Everything Falls Apart Rock and Roll Boutique and Record Store in Greenville, Michigan. If you need further instructions on how to get there, just shoot me a message on Facebook or at the Addictions Podcast at gmail.com.